Ano aike aloha.
Ia ke ko'u a pa'uloa. I'm going to say that again because my mic's on now. Ano aike aloha. Ia ke ko'u a pa'uloa. Greetings of love to be shared among us all. Today is the first Sunday of the month, and we are honoring the Shamanic Traditions today. Now, yes, I think it's a little ironic that I'm going across the ocean to Hawaii when we live in the desert among the Native American peoples. But we're doing that because that's the thing I know the most about. That's right, you know, and it speaks to my heart. So hopefully it will speak to your heart too. The shamanic traditions, all of the shamanic traditions have kind of the foundational basic beliefs. They are very connected to the earth, to nature, and to the people around them. And this is also true in the Hawaiian tradition. It's just that they have, you know, slight differences, you know, kind of like different denominations in Christianity or Buddhism or Hinduism or Islam. It's just that they have a few different ideas. And so I wanted to begin by telling a story. My first experience with the Hawaiian energy. I was probably in 3rd or 4th grade, and we were studying Hawaii. So we were probably studying the United States, and since it's a state in the United States, we studied Hawaii. And so my teacher set it up so that we all got grass skirts and plastic leis, and we did a makeshift luau. And when she talked about the Hawaii people, you know, the people in Hawaii, I felt a sadness. I felt a sadness within me because when she talked about them, it was like, you know, they were, well, you know, not much higher than an animal until the white man came along and saved them. So knowing that this has been the consciousness that many of us have been working with, of shifting that consciousness, I was aware, you know, I mean, we got grass skirts because isn't that what Hawaiians wear? They'll walk around in these grass skirts. Oh, and they're naked. Okay, just letting you know, they're naked. So, so there's a whole side to the Hawaiian culture that she never talked about, but that I had the blessing of being introduced to 10 years ago. Yes, 10 years ago. Wow. So in 2012, I was invited to go to Hawaii in preparation for a retreat that I was doing. And so I was asked, what do I want to do while I was there? You know, it's kind of like, well, what do you want to see? What do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm not really good at being the tourist. That's just not my thing. But I would love to connect with the people. I would love to connect with the spirituality. There's a deep spirituality there. And I'd love to connect with that deep spirituality. And so we spent a week going to sacred sites. Not where, I mean, there was nobody else there but us. But it awakened something within me that really showed me our connection. The deep connection that we have with each other, with the planet, you know, with spirit. And so I began to, a part of this was all about looking at the word aloha. Now, when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I was taught that the word aloha meant hello and goodbye. when you greeted someone, you said, aloha. And when you left them, you said, aloha. I'm sorry, when I was kid, it didn't make much sense to me that you would say hello and goodbye with the same word. But aloha itself is not necessarily, they don't think of it as a word as much as a way of life. You'll hear them talk about the spirit of aloha or the way of aloha. They're beginning to teach their children, again, this spirit of aloha and teach them their language. And so I want to share with you today what aloha means. And it's done in the form of an anagram. So the A stands for Allah, which is watchful alertness or being present in this moment. The L is for lakahi, which is about working with unity and being in harmony. The O is oeio, which is truthful honesty. The H is for ha'aha'a, which is humility. And the A is for ahonui, which is patience and perseverance. The Kahuna David Bray interprets this code as come forward, be in unity and harmony with your real self, God, and mankind. Be honest, truthful, patient, kind to all life forms, and humble. He also stated that to the Hawaiians of old, aloha meant God in us. And I would add that God in us as breath. So I want to take a moment and invite you to breathe this word in, because there is a real power in breathing in the word alo and breathing out ha. You just breathe in alo and out ha. And again, just breathe in alo. And you can feel your energy shift maybe, that there's a peace that comes over you when you breathe in this word. And it's interesting to note that Hawaiians, for as long as this is one of the things I learned early on, is that to the Hawaiians, they call the white people haulis, or well, not actually white people, haulis. And you know what it means? Without breath. Because when they taught them to pray, the right way, there was no space for the breath. It was just these words. You just said these words, but there was no space for the breath. And so in this spirituality, there's always space for the breath. It is the breath that centers us. It is the breath that ignites us. It ignites a fire within us. It is the breath of spirit that does the work. So as we look at this word, I'm going to start with Allah. And Allah is watchful alertness in the present moment that is open and giving. It's paying attention to what is happening around us and being open to unlimited possibilities. So it's not being caught up in what's happening, but it's being there in an open space and looking for how it is flowing. So we're looking at how is the energy flowing and what is open to happening next. Howard Thurman said, don't ask what the world needs, Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And so when we think about being in this present moment, when we're present with ourselves and with whoever we're with or whatever we're with, we are alive. We can feel that life energy flow through us. And we can experience life on a different level of existence. Lokahi is unity and harmony. It's being consciously aware of who we are as human beings. And when I say that, I mean human, our physical expression, and being, our spiritual expression. And recognizing that when we say human being, it is one word, because it is one expression. And so all that is on this plane of existence and all that is in the realm of possibility comes from this connection with, comes out of who we truly are. And we want to live in harmony. And so we live in harmony with others, with the land, with everything that is, which is a part of accepting everything as it is without trying to make it into something else. It will become something else in and of itself. We don't have to make it become something else as we hold into that consciousness of our connection and our oneness. When we speak of one presence, that includes us and whoever or whatever we might think of as other. Is there a person in your life that you think of as, well, that's them. That's not me. That's them. And when you say them, you're really kind of saying, and I'm right and them. Well, not right. So IEO is truthful honesty. And I love this part of it because truthful honesty is about living authentically as who we were created to be. That's what being truthful and honest is. Showing up as our true self, not as our ego tells us we need to show up, not as the ego, the ego sits there and says, oh, don't do that, you'll rock the boat. Or do that, you'll rock the boat. It's about really getting in touch with and understanding and knowing who we are. Who am I? And what was I created? Who was I created to be? And as I get in touch with who I'm created to be, then I live out of that, which is being authentic. And the more that I get to understand myself, and there's always more to learn and more to understand. And so as I get to know and understand myself more, there's more to live and be. And there's an energy around that fills us with joy because we're being authentic. Ha'a'aha. I know it sounds like you're laughing, right? Ha 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 ha. No, it's ha'a'aha, which is humility. And this is the piece that comes from directly knowing ourselves. It is an extension of the knowing ourselves, and that in humility, we do not play small and we don't puff ourselves up. Because when we know who we are And we know what we've been created to be, and that we've been created to be in harmony and connection with everything and everyone around us, then we live from a different place within us. And we express from a higher truth. Aho Nui is patient perseverance. The thing I will probably most commonly hear from people is, whatever you do, don't pray for patience. So here's the good news. In unity, we don't pray for things. We affirm what is already ours. Now, think about the difference in the energy there. Oh God, please give me patience. Oh God, please give me patience, because I don't think I can deal with this. Or, I know that I am patient and I am kind and I have strength to persevere. Completely different. There's a completely different energy in there. We are affirming that patience is already ours, because it is a part of who we are. It is a natural part of us, just like having the power of understanding or the power of inspiration. Patience is a part of who we are, especially when we're in touch with who we are. And so we affirm that we are patient and we persevere. So sorry. So I just want to read something that I wrote here. So it says, patience is our ability to stay present with what is without reacting from fear or from the amygdala portion of the brain. This is the lower part of our brain that sends out hormones and elicits the leading to fight, flight, or freeze. Patience is located in the frontal lobe. It is located in the frontal lobe, where we have the capacity to understand, where we have the capacity to tap in and to do things on a different level. It is where we access divine intelligence that is not based on outer circumstances. It is based on a higher truth. Jesus often said, it used to be said, you have heard it said this way, but I tell you this. And it was always about bringing us up higher. You have heard an eye for an eye, but I tell you, forgive. So it's only when we're in the present moment that we can see the world anew. And so a question I would ask is, what old beliefs are you holding on to that prevent you from seeing the world anew? What are those old beliefs that you might be holding on to that would prevent you from seeing the world anew? And are you ready to let them go? So these principles aren't only taught regarding the interaction with other people. It has to do with our worldview. How do we treat the planet? The material items that support us, the food that we eat. Getting in touch with the very essence of spirit itself and living out of that essence is really what Aloha is about. So I found myself saying a lot lately that, and I say it at the beginning of prayer, so often we think of that we invoke God before we're going to pray. And to invoke means I'm going to bring God in. I can't bring God in because God is already here. What I need to do is bring me to God. So I need to invoke my own presence into the presence of God, because the presence of God is already here. And when we look at it from that perspective, when we realize that there is nothing that can separate us from the presence of God, and that we live in the presence of God all the time, then everything becomes sacred. Everything becomes sacred. So there's another word that is important, is really important in the Hawaiian language, and that is Ohana. And we did the song Ohana. I point up here because the words were right there. Ohana. Ohana is family. And everybody is family. So if you listen to Hawaiians speak, they will, if they're speaking to someone or about someone who is their age, who's a peer or younger than them, they will call them cousin. If they're speaking to someone who is an elder, they call them auntie or uncle. And it's a recognition of our connection. It's a recognition of the connection, and it is a symbol of respect. It's a symbol of respect. So it's this idea that we are all connected. There is a teaching in Unity that says, there is nothing and no one against me. There is nothing and no one against me. When I'm living in the present moment, there is nothing and no one against me. I am not a victim of circumstances. When I'm in the present moment, I have the power to access divine intelligence because I'm not caught up in, oh my gosh, what's happening? How do I fix it? How do I get out of it? Whatever those thoughts are that come along, it's like when we recognize and we say, oh yeah, there's nothing and no one against me. That's kind of the spirit of Ohana. St. Paul in the New Testament says that we can't see others as separate from us, that we're all one body. We all make up one body. And he says, you can't cut off a hand or cut off a foot and think that the body is whole. The body is only whole when we recognize the wholeness of the body. And so when we separate people out and make them other, when we separate out and say, that doesn't apply to me, then we're cutting ourselves off. And I would add that we're cutting ourselves off from our good. Because if we're cutting ourselves off, then we're cutting ourselves off from our good. The spirit of aloha is about recognizing that God is good, and good is everywhere, present all of the time. So let's take this into prayer. So I'm going to just invite you to breathe. And again, just breathing in a low and breathing out. Breathing in a low and breathing out. Ha. We recognize the presence of the divine within us. all around us, and more than us. So we just continue to breathe into this present state of awareness. How does your body feel? Are you tense? Do you need to relax? If there's a tense space, I invite you to breathe in a low and breathe out ha as you focus on that space. And invite you to bring to mind a situation or an experience. One that you might think that the people involved are separate from you, or the situation is separate from you. Don't judge it. This isn't about whether it's right or wrong, or who's right and who's wrong. It's just awareness of the situation. What are the emotions that arise? Because the emotions have a message for you. The emotions tell you what you are having a tendency to believe about this. Again, breathing in a low and exhaling ha. We release all of these thoughts with the breath. We release them into the realm of infinite possibilities. We release them to be transformed into truth. And as we breathe in a low, we breathe in that truth. And as we breathe out ha, we breathe out that truth. We allow that truth to permeate every cell of our being. And bringing it into the heart. We give thanks. And breathing in again, breathing in a low, and breathing out ha. We say mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. Amen.